Hey there, coaches. I'm Rich Prado, owner of Play In School and host of Travel Ball Talk, where I talk to travel ball coaches from the best organizations about the current and future state of travel baseball. Now, I make cafe con leche each morning. My friend Joe Ferraro of the 1% Better podcast totally geeks out on cold bird. On today's episode, Robert Maida, owner and founder of Niners Baseball in New Jersey, shares with us his unusual go-to caffeine source, as well as some strong tips for one-on-one or group communication with his players. I hope you enjoy this episode of Travel Ball Talk.
All right, welcome back to Travel Ball Talk. Today we're heading up to talk to Robert Maida from Niners Baseball, based down in Wall Township, New Jersey. I'm sure he's like 6 Earl Grey teas in so far today. So there's a strong possibility that this will be the last time you hear my voice for the next hour. Before we go too far, Robert, welcome to the show, but I always save this for the last second of the show, and I want to start with this. Show notes, links to your website, links to your Twitter, and everything else will be at playinschool.com/Maida, which is MAIDA. Robert.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the show.
How you doing, Rich? Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. We hopped on a call the other day to say hello, and it was wide open.
It's my fault too, Rich. I mean, it's my fault. I've been sidekicking you. If this was Match.com, you would have deleted and swiped right
left.
or whatever the
swipe
do.
Swiping left on me. That's okay. That's okay.
I don't know if it's right, left. I'm married, so I don't have an option.
I have no idea, but I do look forward to, because when we spoke the other day, it was wide open. It was 100 miles an hour, and we didn't tap the brakes. So here's what I want you to do, just for the folks who don't necessarily know who Niners Baseball are, or they don't know who you are. Give us the brief background on you and kind of the foundation of Niners Baseball.
Okay, good. For me, the start of anybody starting a travel program, if you will, is the first thing you have to look at is where you start as a player. And for me personally, I think that's a really good, important thing to do is assess yourself. So when I was a player, I was a freshman in high school and I got cut. And when I got cut, from that point, I recognized for the first time in my life that I sucked. And so I had to really work at something that I knew that I loved, that I wanted to do for a very long period of time at some regard. So for me, I kind of looked at everything in a broad scope. I looked at my body. I took care of what I needed to do. I did grow a little bit. I was probably a chunky shit, so I needed to lose some pounds, and probably still do. And then from which point, as I morphed into playing and played in college, luckily, and from that point started coaching, I saw kind of the navigation of what was going on in the baseball industry, right? Like I was coaching high school, and it was kind of like a negative connotation about 11 years ago when I started, or 10 years ago, if you will, when I started the Niners. At least in my perception, it was. And I think it's, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that was my perception, Rich. And then from which point I kind of went into the same thing into the program as I did when I first got cut when I was a baseball player. I wanted to make sure that I looked at some organizations starting out that did things the right way and the wrong way, and kind of developed a model of what I wanted to have this become, the growth that I wanted to possibly. And, because we all should dream, Rich. And then from which point I just stuck with it, and I really haven't deviated.
All right. So about 11 years ago, when you were getting the Niners started, you were still in the classroom as a school teacher. Take me back there, talk about your early days as, starting this thing out sort of as a little side thing, and then fast forward to to current day and how you made the transition away from the classroom, because I'm sure there's a teacher or two out there who may be interested in going full time with baseball the way you have.
Yeah, that's a good, excellent question. Well, first of which, when I was doing both, they both sucked. It was really difficult. When coaching high school was obviously a lot more simplistic for me. When I was a middle school teacher, so I was a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade history teacher, and for me, it was really hard juggling. But for the coaching part in high school, it wasn't as cumbersome. When my children were born, and I had twins, and if anybody out there has twins, they know what I'm talking about, because the first 6 months is like you're in the Hanoi Hilton. It is a torture chamber. It is wretched. It really is. And I don't even want to think about somebody had triplets, Rich. But so at that point, about a year into my children being born and the Niners being inaugurated, I kind of looked at myself and I had to make a choice. But what I recognized, and my solace came in from leaving the teaching profession, is that I was going into something that I was still teaching, that I was still doing something that I knew that was tangible for kids, that I could teach them in a direction. And that's kind of the essence of what I try to do as a teacher in the classroom. And then, creating, growth mindset and, not shutting people off, but yet at the same point being really, really stern. And so I kind of morphed my program of the Niners into a lot of I wouldn't be able to do what I was doing if I didn't teach, Rich. I'd be honest with you. I would not be able to run. A lot of people are like, oh, you can get up and you can start a travel program and, it's not that hard. That is such bullshit. I can't even tell you. There's more layers to this than a tree in California in one of those forests. It's just ring upon ring, and it's constantly diverse. And then, so when you look at, again, to go back to as a teacher, it was the same thing, particularly when I was leaving, because you had all these different rules and regulations and teaching to tests. So I kind of tried to adapt that. The transition was a lot easier than I thought because of the fact that it was about kids. It might sound bullshitty, but at the end of the day, nobody goes into the teaching profession to make, to walk away after taxes with $40,000 a year with benefits. Summers off is great, but nobody can sit. They do it because they have a passion about something, whatever. It's something upon that school or that kids or that classroom that burns a fire, right? And so for me, the fire is the same. It's just that I just love baseball more than history, I guess. But because history does change, but it stays the same. And for me, I think the Niners change, but they stay the same.
One of the things that I found when I probably hadn't told you, but I used to teach as well prior to starting playing school, and one of the things that was kind of a breath of fresh air was working with these prospects. You got 100% of the kids who aspire to bigger things and they want to go to college, versus the classroom where, I didn't even have 100% of the kids who wanted to even go to school that day, right? So it's nice to be surrounded with driven, kids, goal-oriented kids who are willing to work for things. That's one of the nice parts for me, being in this kind of retired from the classroom, if you will. I don't really call it.
Yeah, that's the way. Yeah, that's the way. I'll jump on that same point, Rich. You talked about, I guess, in essence, it's the level of kids too, right? Like if you go inside the classroom, when you first start out teaching, that when you have a classroom of 25 kids, you got about, kind of like our socioeconomic system.
Sure.
Right? Like you have 4 or 5 kids in the class that are high level learners.
Yeah.
Then you have a large middle, let's just say hypothetically, whatever, 18 some odd kids, and then like 2 or 3 in the back that have needs that need to be met. Right? So at the end of the day, it's all about the same goal, but everybody's going about it a little bit differently, and then a little bit the ceiling might be just a little bit higher or lower depending on the student. Well, so when I started the Niners, and this is why it's such a great question that you asked it, because for me, I kind of have to look at it the same way. The way we do our model of our program, which I know you're going to be asking me, so I already got your cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Is, what do you do? We don't take guest players. So whatever player that we have that's inside of our program that commits to me as a coach and commits to me as my program, and then, or us as our program, I should say, then it is our obligation to develop that kid. But just like the classroom, there's ideologies. And sometimes the ideologies of the parents or of the kid or of us are different, similar to what that would be in the same classroom that I was in for a long period of time. So what we've had to do, and we'll get into that probably later into this, into this discussion, is come up with ways that we could increase levels of play for them, and then layers upon layers of what they need to do to become the best player that they can be. And so we try to raise the bar for all of them. And that's where I hear a lot of people say, well, these second and third teams, that's such bullshit. Oh, my God, well, why would anybody waste their time and money to something if they're playing on a team that they're not one of the best players? Oh, well, here's the question. Why do we pay for the gym when we can work out at our house?
Right. Yeah.
Why do we get a dietitian or somebody to pay for help us eat and learn to what we need to eat? Weight Watchers and such. Why do we do that when we know that we could do that ourselves? The recipe is the same. Yeah. So I kind of find it bothersome, because if a kid really has a passion about something, it's our job, in my opinion, as a parent, and again, I'm a parent as well, so it's my job to facilitate that, however way that is. And so, commonality, people can say, well, you're going to take care of the big time kid and you're going to ignore. No. I was the kid that was on the second or third team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was the Division III player. I'm not bashful in saying it. It changed my life. It made me analytically look at myself and grow as a human. So if this program could do that in any bit of a regard, then that's a goddamn success. Yeah,
and there's some, the word that jumped out when you were talking about that was, accountability. You could sit and do push-ups in your home, but if you've got that gym membership that you're paying for, now all of a sudden you're accountable to yourself. You're accountable because you've paid for it. And you're accountable to your workout partner who's going to be there. And I think that's big time.
That's no doubt. And you know what too, Rich? What about you taught, what about the group setting? When we were in the classroom, I'm 48 years old. We had to sit at a desk for 47 minutes. We had to sit there. We had to beg that the teacher would allow us to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And we had to sit there the entire time and almost take, notes as we were like a stenographer in a courtroom. And then came up that where we became, then we started doing group learning, and we started getting into, adverse, like they call adverse group learning, where you were supposed to go against one another, and quasi debate. In history, you could do that more, let's say, than other topics. But but the group setting became so important. And so why is that so important? Well, it's team.
Yeah.
Most people that are working in their jobs are not having, they might be self-employed, but they got people working for them. So you got to learn how to cope with others. And in this society now, with what goes on with media and the kids with phones, I don't know about you, but I think that's kind of subtracted a lot from when we were growing up.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. No, I tell you what, that reminds me, one of my mentors, founding partner of a law firm with offices in probably 30 different states. This is a big time guy, and he told me they've done all the research, for what makes a good employee, and at the end of the day, they seem to continue to go back to the well of hiring college athletes. That one little metric on a resume seemed to be the separator, because these folks grew up knowing how to work in a team. So important. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not only from a winning standpoint, but also from a losing standpoint, from a cooperation standpoint, from from a communication standpoint. So important.
Well, and I'll tell you, let me jump on that. Now, you're not going to be able to ask me a question.
That's okay. I don't have any other ones to ask you.
Well, the thing is we don't talk to parents.
Yeah, unpack that for me a little bit.
You
You mentioned that the other day when we spoke, and I was going to get to that. Unpack that for me, and tell the 2 or 3 listeners on the other end what you mean by that.
Well, there's a lot of people that are going to probably hear this and automatically have an off switch.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I can understand it, but the one thing that I recognized upon, again, to go back to being a classroom and a baseball coach for 11 years, I think I was a high school coach, is I recognized that as a parent myself, we see things completely different than what somebody else does. So the question that, before I get into the question that the parent should ask is, do I trust this person to help my son or daughter even, right? I need to trust this person. So what I do is I give them, I sound like I'm giving them a treat, but and it's not talking to me, as you well know, is I want to do everything I can the first time that I talk with them, either in person or on the phone, to answering and facilitating any question that I have. Mm-hmm. Any single thing that I can ask them, they can ask me, I will give them an answer or ask them something back so I can get knowledge about the kid. Upon that happening, they are instructed that we will not talk again until we go through the college process, unless something, God forbid, happens. Something, either tragic or something that needs to be spoken about to me, which is, they can. I think we all could derive what those things could be. And so, in my time, I can honestly, and I said this to you before the other day, I haven't had many issues with it at all. In fact, a lot of the parents that are in my program, and I don't think I'm overstating this, because I have actually asked them upon them leaving the program, and a lot of them love it.
Yeah.
I would say over 90% of them just embrace it, because philosophically, my reasoning is not that I don't want to. I could talk a hind leg off a horse.
No kidding.
But I know that at the end of the day, their child is going to have to learn to be interdependent in everything that they do, particularly when it comes to something that this is their love. So even if a parent is living vicariously through their child, there's nothing that we can do, anybody can do about that. But the one thing that I can at least help in is to have that person, that kid, and that comes from my mom, Rich. Mm-hmm. My mom started making me wash my clothes when I was 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
I cooked for myself when I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have much growing up until a certain point, and then so what I tried to do is I didn't even know any better, Rich. Like I used to talk to kids about it in school and be like, "What, you wash your own clothes?" Maybe that's the reason why they stunk. I don't know, but but for me, and so I think, particularly now because kids talk through their thumbs, that I want them to be able to talk to any coach at any given time about any issue that they have.
Yeah. Because
I don't know. In my world, I don't see kids wanting to do that when I was a teacher. A funny story, Charlie Puth, who's a famous singer, was in my classroom for 2 years. And he's I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's a pretty well-known recording artist.
Okay.
And when his first album hit, I ended up sending him a message. And I just sent him a congratulatory message. How do you believe this guy? This kid's like a multi-star, and he's too big for me now, which I totally understand. But at that time, and he came out to me and he said, "Mr. Maida, the one thing that I always appreciated is you made us become accountable for everything that we did inside and outside the classroom." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, that's not the reason why you got about 20 million followers on whatever Instagram or Twitters you have, but at the same point, it was a little bit of a reformation for me. Like I was like, well, maybe this is something sometimes, because we should have to question ourselves about whether not talking or talking to parents is a good thing. But I know it's the best thing for the kid because they want it, and I think it's the best for the growth of the kid, and also.
Yeah, I'm guessing. Like you attract what you put out. My guess is that you are attracting families that like this. Because word's out, right? Like scouting report is out on you and the program, and the family that feels like they need to hover or helicopter or whatever the term is, they're not going to want their kid playing for you because they're going to want to be in your ear every single day. How's little Johnny doing or whatever. When you want to talk to your guys, you want to have that conversation with your players. So chances of somebody kind of sneaking through who's totally unaware of your style is probably slim.
Yeah, I mean it really is. Even people like there are people in my program that other parents in the program don't even know that I had a history with them before I even started as a teacher. That are in my program right now, and they don't even call me.
Well, let me ask you some specifics about this topic. Kids don't use email. Parents' emails, on the other hand, are completely flooded. Communication
a lot more kids email us now than you would think.
Well, that's good, and that's what I wanted to hear about. So, I was going to say,
more of them.
Are you Snapchatting these kids, or talk to me about?
No. I don't even know what that is.
How are you getting information to and from your players besides in person?
So what we do is every kid that's on a team automatically is given the text list upon in their program.
Okay.
So let's say Coach Jones has 12 kids on his team. Well, I'm added as the other kid on that list in that text list.
Gotcha.
So,
now, is that done through a service, an app, or is that just right there on the phone?
On the phone, we do. A couple of coaches feel more comfortable. The older ages, we do it more with Instagram because what I like doing is because, and I want to get into this as well as the development of the player, is that I like sending them videos upon things that I see and I recognize some of the kids when I go watch their games, there's something that they need to watch in. So I'll have them cue in and look into what this particular athlete is doing. It doesn't even have to be a baseball player. Mm-hmm. So as they've gotten older, this past season, Rich, we did a lot more with Instagram.
Wait, stop right there. You're using Instagram as a group text platform?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. That's
yeah.
Is that working well for you?
Really, oh yeah, because of the video component. I mean, on my phone, on my saved videos, I think I have one of my kids, one of my players, because I always reference it when I do my hitting stuff with them, that they think I have over 2,000 videos on my phone. Huh. So, and I have a catalog of them, and I put them in like some sort of like an encyclopedia, so that I know that I can go to that as a reference. So if I'm working with somebody on, let's just say, a launch angle move, like everybody, which I want to talk about later as well, I'm going to give them references of why, the launch angle is not generated actually from the swing. It's more generated from our body. Mm-hmm. So things like that. So like because a lot of kids, they really are open learners. I would hope that they are. We want them to be.
Yeah, I'm locked in with this communication thing through Instagram. Let me give you a hypothetical. You're down in Georgia, and it's hot, and it's the South, and it rains, and your field gets changed. Do you shoot word out through Instagram?
Yeah.
No kid.
We'll put it. What I'll do is on our group chat, because we'll have a group chat.
So you'll have a group chat going on your phone through text message as well.
Yep. And but on Instagram, you can collect as many kids as you want.
Yeah.
On your group.
Interesting.
So we'll do that there. I did that with my group towards the fall, at the end of the fall, because I started doing it with somebody else, and I started doing the fall, and it was a great.
All right, there you go, coaches. Get inside of Instagram for communication with your players, because they're already there, right? That's
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the kids are, and I mean, I believe that the kids are more on Instagram than they are on Twitter or anything else right now. I don't think that's even a I don't even think I'm going out on a limb. And what I like it is because we are visual learners.
Mm-hmm.
A large percentage of us, particularly athletes, need something visually to see. So beyond doing the basic communication about going to Georgia when you're at, Sprayberry High School and they got 17 inches of rain, beyond that, when we tell them, oh, by the way, there's no game, but, oh, I did see this morning. Check out this hinge on this kid. Look how long he holds this hinge going forward towards the ball and doesn't regress going back when he's hitting. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
That I like, that I think we can capitalize on, the 21st century.
Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. So it's really more not just for, hey, practice was canceled, but a lot more. It sounds like, hey, check out what this athlete's doing. Here's the video of it.
Yeah, and to go back, and I want to touch that too. But another thing, and I probably should have said this before, my time and I think any travel coach that has, a decent amount of teams would agree with this. There's a commonality that we have a shit ton of time to run these things. Oh my God, you just sit at home and you basket hang and you play thumbsies. And again, I used the term before, layers, and I'll probably say it again. There are so many layers to this. I actually, to look at this interview, Rich, I actually went back the day that we spoke, which I think was Thursday, right? Was it Thursday or Friday?
I think it was either Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay. And I looked at how many text messages I sent that day.
Yeah.
I counted it. I went home that night. There were 261 text messages that I sent. Now, some of them were multiples, but so, and that's on top of the phone calls. As you could tell from my voice, I don't shut up.
Yeah.
So
picked up on that.
I can't be on the phone for less than 30 minutes. So, and I spent a lot of time talking to college coaches and professional scouts, a little bit, more so college guys. And they're not even, a lot of them, it's not even just our players. It's believe it or not, players in other programs that I've seen. It's, players that are not even in any program or yet because of the ages, everybody's recruiting younger and younger. And if hey, Maids, have you seen him? Doc, have you seen him? And I'm like, yeah, I have. Here's, this kid's really good. I don't care that a kid's in or not in my program. I do care, but I don't care. If the kid's a good player, then he should be rewarded as such being a good player. It's not why, because we have another player. If my player that I have isn't as good as that player, and that player, a coach is interested in him, well, that's my job. Yep. That's my job. A lot of them are friends of mine. Several of them are extremely close. Some of my best friends for a long, long period of time before I even was in the Niners. So I kind of think it's my job as a baseball junkie to do that. I don't know if other people do it, and I really don't care. I just know that I think it's right.
Mm-hmm. Awesome stuff, man.
I know I went off on a path there.
I love it, man. I love it. It's awesome. And this Instagram thing has kind of thrown me for a loop. I think there's going to be a few coaches who pick up on that and start using it for shooting quick notes over to their players, because it is such a good platform, because you got a little clip, and instead of just giving it the old heart, which is cool, you can shoot it over to somebody and use that as a teaching tool or learning opportunity. So
I use Instagram sending videos. I can't tell you. I do that in the morning before I even look at my text messages about any new hitting videos. Particularly, there'll be an academy in the Dominican,
cool.
where they're doing, and there's stuff that just so awesome that we have at our fingertips.
Yeah,
I sound like I'm like Steve Jobs' employee right now, but
no doubt. No doubt. So okay. So speaking of technology, I'm over on your website. I notice our friend's logo down at the bottom. LeagueApps. You got your front facing website here on the LeagueApps platform. I'm seeing a lot more programs moving over to them. I'm a big fan. Obviously, you're a big fan. Is there anything kind of underneath the hood that you're leveraging from LeagueApps that's worth sharing with folks who are maybe not in the LeagueApps platform yet?
No, that's a great question too. First of all, they've been great. Anybody that's doing what we do and do not use them, I don't know what to tell you. They're baseball people running websites.
Yeah,
they're people that have played in the game, and even though they're diverse and they do other things, right, Rich? I mean, they do a bajillion different types of websites, but what they do and how they do it and how clean it is, how well, I'm just going to sound like a commercial. So yeah, maybe they'll take off $1 off of my.
Well, they're going to be sponsoring this episode of the podcast. They can contact me for the invoice.
So, but I would say the one thing, and this isn't in reference to what they do wrong. This is nothing at all. I think there's a trust factor with the parents when it comes to, because we do the pay online with them.
Uh-huh.
And, they make their payments, via the monthlies, quarterly, depending on what we do and how we do it. So,
sure.
Again, there's layers. Some of them in the beginning were really, really apprehensive about putting their credit cards. I mean, because not everybody uses Amazon. I mean, Jeff Egos probably doesn't know that. But most.
Hey, the special announcement to Niners parents, it is 2019.
Yeah. But they have really gotten aboard really fast, though. I pretty much gave them a no ultimatum on the constant contact email and said, we are going with this payment form going forward, and it's unequivocal.
Yeah.
Like you don't even have an option. And if it's an option that you have, then I'm sorry, but unless you want to pay all up front with a check, we're not going, because any travel guy will say chasing money, and Rich too, chasing money. Like we don't have Luca Brasi, in our stable to go chase people for money.
Yeah, it's the worst part is the least favorite phrase in the English language is checks in the mail. And it's one thing if you got one team and you got 15 kids and these families, they're good for it, right? No big deal. But when you start to grow that and you got 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 or 100 teams underneath your banner, that's a pretty big business, and it only takes a handful of people to be checks in the mail to throw a wrench in the whole thing. So it sounds like you're given two options. Hey, mom and dad, you can either pay up front in full by check, or you go on the pay, you put your credit card in, and it's going to ding you at the appropriate, whether it's 12 months or 10 months or 6 months or 4 months or whatever it is. It's going to ding your card at the agreed upon time. That's amazing. Honestly, I don't know why anybody would do it any other way. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I'm actually embarrassed that it took me that long to do it myself. It was my primitive brain, which I didn't think I was, but I had to have been.
Also I think parents, and it seems like I've probably been inside of more facilities than anybody on earth, and it seems like there's still a lot of check writing. The baseball world is like the only niche I know that actually carries a checkbook. I couldn't tell you where my checkbook is.
You know what though, Rich? I think a lot of that has to do. I mean, we kind of talked about this a little bit, and I'll say it, but some of the programs out there, they want cash, and
I gotcha. I hear what you're saying. I
I think I don't do it that. I can't do it that way. I have. Beyond too much to lose is just more of an integrity thing, I think, than anything else.
Yeah. That's the sub shop down the street from me still is cash only, and I'm pretty sure I know why. So you're saying the same thing about the about maybe some of these guys are just putting it underneath their mattress instead of checking in with the federales and the IRS. That's what you're.
Yes, I mean, listen, maybe
allegedly.
Somebody will be knocking on my door asking me to see my book, and that's fine.
You'll be you're gonna get audited next year because somebody somebody refers you to the IRS. But you're gonna be fine because there's a record of everything.
And if it happens, I'm fine.
Exactly.
I'm fine with it. Like I've done it as clean as I can. I'd like to think I have. I try to. So, but to go back to LeagueApps, it's what you want it to be. You know, when you start a travel program, you can do it whatever way you want. You know, there are programs out there that are major programs that believe in. They'll say that they're a part of development, and they'll say they're a part of something. But at the end of the day, they're just guesting for a weekend. They can try to get either recruited or whatever the like. And so for me, we don't do it. And LeagueApp, it's just like our program. You can be anything you want to be. And in that LeagueApp, you can do anything you want to do. You can do scheduling. You can put videos up there. You have a video component that you could put in there for other college coaches to see. Same with some of the way that like Perfect Game and PBR do. You can have it any way you want. It's like a Burger King Whopper, I guess. You know, you can do any way you want.
Now I noticed. All right, so I'm still on your website, and the other logo I noticed, and I definitely want to. We've talked about these guys a bunch. This is Marucci's Founders Club. How in the heck did the Niners baseball out of Walls Township sneak into such an exclusive club as the Founders Club with Marucci Baseball? Can you give us a little bit of your background on that relationship and how that's impacted Niners baseball?
No doubt. That was funny. When I first started the program, the end goal for every program was to go to Georgia in the summer. I mean, that was going to Marietta. I mean, we didn't even call it, everybody just called it Marietta back in the day. And I say back in the day, it was 8 years ago, I think, Rich, something like that. 7 or 8 years ago. And so I remember talking to a gentleman by the name of Matt Blevin. And Matt Blevin, who's now not working for Perfect Game anymore, I said to him, I called him up, and he's now working for Wilson, and he's a tremendous guy. Not because he did what I'm about to say, but more so, he was a man of his word, and he really did it the right way. And I called him up, cold call, and I said, "Hey, Matt, how you doing? My name is Rob Maida. I'm really looking to get into Marietta, and he told me the whole thing about how exclusive it is. It was a lot more exclusive back in the day than it was, in current times. And I said, listen, I go, we got some players on the team, and I'm telling you right now, we're going to win the pool. Huh. So he goes, Rob, you realize the teams? I go, I don't care what teams are there. We will win the pool. And we talked about it afterwards. He's like, you're just some cocky Jersey guy, right? At the time, I was like, I got to take a chance to make a chance, right? Like I got to get on a soapbox with my little band of little minions, and we got to do something for the kids and for the program. And so we played our first game. We were winning 3-2 against Cangelosi. The first year was a game changer. And the umpire got the count wrong. We strike the kid out, but they didn't. I go to shake my coach's hand to congratulate him for winning the first game in Marietta. And all I know is there's another pitch with a runner on second base, and they were hitting. We were up 3-2. Kid hits a double in the gap, and I'm like, it's a 3-3 game. I call time. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Well, it was already done. And I'm like, here it is. I go and tell Matt Blevin that we're going to win the pool, and we tied the first game. And I'm like, oh, my God, like we got to run out. And I looked in our schedule when we first got it, and they gave us Marucci Elite. And Marucci Elite was our second or third game. I think it might have been our second game. And Marucci Elite at that time was the tits McGee. They were loaded. I think there's 6 major league players on the team when we played them. I think I'm trying to think what high school it was at. I know, and my assistant remembers it. I remember the surroundings, but it was a bajillion people there. It was 100.
That team was probably being coached by Chad Rayleigh.
Yes, he was. Yes, it was. It was a Founder Club part of the Founders Club as well.
He's currently with the Louisiana Knights.
Yep, and a great program too. And I did. We went to the game. I went before the game, and I said it to them. I said, guys, in the '80 Olympics, that American team beat the Russians. I said, you guys are going against the Russians. Just make whatever you do today be as best as you possibly can make it. It wasn't like I gave a Newt Rockne speech or anything of the sort. I just knew I believed in the team because I was around a lot of them for a couple of years, hitting with them and stuff, and we ended up beating them. We threw 2 junk ballers at them, 2 guys that were 70 poo and barely 81s, and moved the ball with 3 pitches, and we ended up winning 8-5. Well, from after that time, the boys at Marucci started to have contact with me because that was like their team, Rich. Like that was supposed to be, because they knew that they were going to get into the team organization stuff, like what they do now, so that the actual Marucci elite team, although they have one in Texas, Rich, it's not. I mean, it's good, and they're good too, but it wasn't Marucci elite.
Mm-hmm.
Marucci elite, to give people a perspective of anybody that didn't get a chance to see them, was like the Canes and like the East Coast Sox combined.
Mm.
I mean, it was to the level of what I'm talking about in reference to that. And we won the game, and then we ended up playing them 2 years later in a tournament in the PG-25 in Arizona. It was the first year we played them again. It was like it was their actual last tournament that they were going to play as Marucci Elite, and that's when Kyle Eichord and Trey and Tana came up to me and they said, "We're thinking about doing this deal here. We're thinking about doing something with an exclusive group with teams. Mm-hmm. Would you be interested?" And I just love, and I still do. I love those guys there, Rich. They are beyond professional, they do everything they can do to make things as good as they possibly can make it. I mean, they're the whole bit. And so for us, we're always been about relationships and loyalty. And so when that came about, believe me, I still bust their balls. Oh, to the day, I still talk about I actually told it to them. I'm like, this is the '80 Olympics. So then we end up playing them in the PG-25 game. Let me rewind back to that. And their head coach, who's at the Louisiana Knights right now, he said to me, "This is not going to be the 1980 Olympics this time." He might not remember it, but I remembered it. It was at Camelback Ranch, to get the field. I think where the White Sox and the Dodgers play, and it was hot as a nutsack. I mean, it was, it was hot. But yeah, Marucci's been great, Rich. It's an exclusive member to get into it. You can't just call them up one day and say, "Hey, I want to become one of them." There's layers and you have to go through to get to that point. So luckily enough, we were a part of it. And I don't know if, we're definitely not the biggest. I don't think we're the best. I know we're not the best of them, but we try to do things the same way that they do, is do things the right way. And, they say honor the game. That's like their big thing, Rich. They really do believe that. They really, truly, sincerely honor the game. It's a business. It's a business for everybody. Nobody can say it. It's a business for the parents.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I mean, listen, they end up spending, let's just say in 2 years, they'll spend $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 for a team to be played on. But if your kid's in a good he's a Division I player, he gets a Division I scholarship. The average scholarship that we had previous year, I haven't done this year yet. The previous year, I think, was $67,000. So for me, my mom said that to me too. I'm going to go on a tangent here. My mom said this to me when I first started this. She's like, you coached all those years and you didn't collect a nickel. You didn't. You never got paid. Now you're doing this and they're paying you. Don't you feel guilty? And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, Yeah. I'm like, Mom, maybe a little bit. I go, but you know what, Mom? You play scratch offs, don't you? She goes, yeah. If I told you made a scratch off and you had a $4,000 scratch off with the opportunity of making $60,000 on a 70+% ratio, how many lottery tickets are you going to buy?
Mm-hmm.
So my job, again, to go back, and this is what Marucci does too, and that's why I said it. We believe in getting the right people around us, kind of like Henry Ford, and surrounding ourselves with good people, because good things will come when you hang yourself around with good people.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of try and explain that to my mom, that, and she's like, well, I want 3 lottery tickets then, if that's the case. I'm like, well, it ain't happening. But
tell me about next summer. When we spoke the other day, you got a little kind of, I'd say fired up might be an understatement, about what you see coming around next summer, and how are you kind of preparing for it?
Wow. Well, that was pretty hot. I'm going to try to not get hot, but what's going to happen, Rich, from talking with me.
Hey, don't cover up your mic.
So the NCAA comes up with this calendar, and this calendar that they come up with, I don't know who came up with it. We can derive, I'm sure there are college people that are looking at this, knowing who helped with this, or they thought it was helping with it. It is, if you're in the travel industry and you're not looking at your schedule for the summer already, you are so behind the ball right now. It's mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
I think I looked at it. If you take away the major component tournaments, okay, and I mean by that is, the Mariettas, you take away, you take the PBR's got like 1-2 events they got a bunch of events that are solids, but you take those in, you only have 7 weekends from June 1st, with dead periods included, dead period for Father's Day, dead period for 4th of July weekend, for Father's Day weekend and 4th of July weekend. You have 7 total weekends from June 1st to October 14th. So when you're making your calendar and you're deciding on what team you need to play for, and your kid, it needs to be recruited, not wants to be recruited, needs to be recruited, then you need to look at that calendar, because that calendar is going to blow your mind. It sucks. It freaking sucks. And there's nothing we can do about it, because we are at the liberty of everybody else. And I'm sure that, with 2 college coaches being on the road, they're still having problems with the 3rd coach, which is mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing that you have a 35-man roster, not if you don't have any red shirts, and you have, 3 assistants and a volley. And if you're bigger, you got an ops guys. Like, you can't, and it's ridiculous. So now you got to go on the road and recruit, and now they're only going to have a certain amount of weekends to do that with. So I don't know how these, I know I've been looking at it for over a month. I've built up kind of like a matrix of all the events that I would want to go to. Mm-hmm. Teen camps, a lot of things are going to happen during the middle of the week. I would recommend that to a lot of people. During the summer, it sucks for the parents, but the midweek stuff has to come into play if you want to do what's best for your kid. Because the NCAA has painted us into a corner where we have no option. Now, we can have a tournament on Father's Day weekend, Rich. You know that. I know that. Mm-hmm. But no offense, if I'm coaching the 2021s next year, and my other assistant, is coaching the 2022s and 21s, because, several teams, well, we got to put them in the right spot, but we're not going to put them in a tournament where nobody's going to be at. If that was the case, we just play ourselves and maybe stream it live. Maybe that will become a play. I don't even know. But I know that whatever happens from this season, I do think that there's going to be a lot of people complaining, particularly the mid-majors, Rich. See, I don't think this is a problem for the big dogs, for the Power Fives. Mm-hmm. I think this is a problem for the mid-major college program, and it freaking sucks because they work hard enough as it is to try to compete.
Mm-hmm. If only there was a way to get every coach in the country to be able to see a kid swing the bat right from their phone. I can't put my finger on any Good ideas.
Wink, wink, wink. You and I will be talking about that later. And by the way, for anybody that's wondering, I knew of what Rich does. I did not know what he did. I actually asked you on the phone, right? When I first talked to you, we didn't talk about what you do and how you do it, and probably you didn't intend on that. But I will say it because I'm allowed to, and I have the mic. I'm looking into you as we go forward after this, and that's nothing to do with this interview, people. So if you think that I'm, capitalizing on me being interviewed, which, by the way, I've never been interviewed before. I don't want to be, probably because I know I don't shut up. But, it's going to be something that I think is going to become a more vital component going forward.
Listen, these calls aren't about me or what I do, but, moving forward, film is going to become a more valuable piece of the puzzle. Teams can do it themselves. What teams will find out is it's kind of a pain in the butt to film 20 or 50 or 100. Filming one kid is really easy. Filming 100, it's a big job. Anybody who wants to find out more can obviously track me down. That's all I'll say about that. But yeah, the calendars are constricting. You're going to have to be. Teams are going to have to be super pinpoint, strategic with their scheduling, and
they can't screw it up. You can't screw it up in the summer. You can't, guys. Listen to me now and hear me later. You cannot screw up your schedule in the summer.
Yeah,
and it's really important.
And it might. By the way, you're coming in and out when you're talking. I think you're covering your mic, but we got the point with what you were saying. The thing about these schedules are, it's not necessarily about the biggest, most name brand event. It's about being at the event that's going to have the right coaches to see your kids, where your kids are an appropriate fit. And so you got to know what kind of team you are. You got to self-evaluate, and schedule appropriately.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
In the fall, don't blink because the fall ends.
Yeah.
The fall comes and goes before you even know it.
You take out Fort Myers and Jupiter. You take Fort Myers and Jupiter out of the fall, you got 2 weeks. You got maybe 3 weekends, I think, maybe, if you count that 14th weekend. So you have 3 weekends in the fall. So what we've kind of done now is we don't even have the 2 seasons as much anymore. We've morphed that because of the schedule. And this is a transient business, right, Rich? So we have to, somehow or another, we have to be ahead of the game. So for me, we're going all one season. And it kind of fits our model, too, like I talked about before, where we don't get rid of kids unless I want to get. I'll be honest, it's a totalitarian state. If somebody does something wrong, that's a player, and I'm not talking about on the field. I'm talking about off the field. I'm talking about on the field and even itself, like non-playing. Okay, they will be given they will be giving a rite of passage.
Yeah, pink slip.
Goodbye.
Yeah,
pink slip. So. And the reason why I go into that with you is only because in our program, we're with you. This is you are trusting us. And I go back to that parents thing, that component that we talked about in the beginning. You're trusting us to help develop your kid, because their parents are not allowed to watch our practices either. They're not. And the reason why I do that is because I want all our coaches are at every single practice. So no matter if we're doing a 14, 15U level practice, we have all of our coaches there to coach them. So now so we don't want the parents there, because all that is just meddling. I want to teach the kids the game. I want to go over the game. And to go back to what we were just saying before, it's the same component. I want to do it all one season, which I probably should have done all together anyway, Rich. Is that because we're investing in you just like you're investing in us. So it kind of fits into it. So it was an easy adaptation for us.
Are you doing that currently? Like starting for next year? So let's just call it their fees will cover both summer and fall. Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yep. It's going to end up being a year-round. It's going to end up being a year-round thing. Injury, obviously, injury is different, right? Let's not, if the kid's injured, there's nothing new.
You're gonna have some guys who go play football in the fall, but you'll figure that out.
Yeah, and that happens too. And we have set parameters and levels of that happening as well, because we do encourage that. We'll never take that away from a kid. I never would do that.
Sure.
I know there are other organizations that do that, and I don't fault them as well. That's what they believe in. For me, I believe that if they want to play something, it's not my job to tell them they can't play it. I don't never do that. So we'll do things financially for the parents, and that'll be part of the package that we give them that tells them that stuff. So when they inquire, people listening to this and they're wondering, you can inquire on the email when that happens, and we will be able to go over that with them.
That's pretty cool. Well, listen, I'm sort of thinking we could do this all day long. We could probably turn this into like a once a week show. But I wanted to.
Hey, you can have me back anytime. This is fun.
Yeah.
First of all, talking to you, you're a baseball guy, you're a baseball junkie, and anytime a baseball junkies get together and they can talk, usually it goes for a long period of time. And in this case, I guess there has to be an end. But don't ever be afraid to call me back, or if anybody's out there, you're more than welcome to contact me about any particular questions and stuff. I'll be happy to answer them.
We do need clarification on something. When I introed you, I said that you were probably 4 or 5 Earl Greys deep. Why?
Only 2. 2 so far today. 2.
So for those of you normal people out there who don't know what Earl Grey is, that would be hot tea. Why are you drinking hot tea instead of coffee? Walk us through this. Give us the scouting report, the whole 9 yards.
There's no story to it. I just don't like. I love the smell. You know what? Do you love the smell of gasoline, Rich?
I do not love
when
the
you
smell.
Go to the gas station,
I do not love the smell of gasoline. I hope that wasn't the wrong answer for you.
Well, it probably was, but anybody out there like me, I love the smell of gasoline.
Okay.
Now, of course, I'm never going to drink it, but I love the smell of it.
Okay. Weird. Okay.
Now, stay with me.
Uh-huh.
I love the smell of coffee.
Okay.
I put my mouth on it one time, and it felt like I was drinking paste.
Okay.
So for me, because I'm kind of trying to live this healthier way, whatever the hell that means. It just means being less fat. It's really, from my world, that's what it means. It's the closest thing that I can have to drinking normal tea, which I've eliminated any bit of beverages except for water in my diet, water and Earl Grey.
Wow.
So if Starbucks is looking for a commercial, the only thing is they're going to have to be able to say Merry Christmas. I'm not doing the Merry Coffee thing, all right? Just to let anybody know out there. There's no PC in this.
Okay, so Earl Grey, sugar, no sugar?
No, plain like my women.
Honey? No, plain not like even honey?
Nope, plain.
Wow.
Plain.
Wow.
Yeah, I go straight. I guess when true people that drink Jack Daniels, and I got a coach in my program that loves Jack Daniels, okay? He don't like it with nothing else.
Okay.
No ice.
Okay.
Nothing.
Fair enough.
So Earl Grey is my Jack Daniels.
That's yeah, wow. That's good.
That's a new one. That's a new one.
Earl Grey. All right, you guys out there, it's Instagram for communicating with your players, and it's Earl Grey for your caffeine. So there you are. Robert, this has been a lot of fun. If anybody, the 1 or 2 people who are still tuned in, we'll be able to find the links to all their websites. Everything will be at playinSchool.com/Maida. That's MAIDA. Robert, this was fun, man. I'm gonna stop the recording, but don't go anywhere.
Okay.